Hello everybody. Today we will answer this problem. Example number 10. Let's read the problem. Estimate the compositions of the liquid and vapor phases when ethylene reacts with water to form ethanol at 200 degrees Celsius and 34.5 bars, conditions that assume the presence of both liquid and vapor phases. The reaction vessel is maintained at 34.5 bar by connection to a source of ethylene at this pressure. Assume no other reactions. Alright, so I already pre-written the solution to the problem, and this problem is actually under the topic reactions in heterogeneous systems. As you will notice, the problem told us that there is the presence of both liquid and vapor phases. And unfortunately for this problem, we are missing a reference for the calculation of the activity coefficients. But regardless of that, we will try to describe the solution even without the reference. So even if we don't get the final answer in the end, I think it's still best if we show you how to do the solution. All right. So the first step is to write the given in the problem. Let's write the reaction. So it's ethylene reacting with water to form ethanol, and the system is composed of both liquid and vapor. The temperature is 200 degrees Celsius and the pressure is 34.5 bars that is maintained. Assume there's no other reaction. And the first thing that we need to do is to calculate the degrees of freedom. And we use um, the newer degrees of freedom that we discussed, which contains the number of reactions and also the constraints. But I did not show here uh, minus s for the constraints because there are no other constraints. So if we analyze the degrees of freedom, so we have two, which is temperature and pressure, minus two phases, plus three species, minus one reaction. So this is our reaction, just one because there's no other reaction given in the problem. And the degrees of freedom is 2. So with that, we only need um, two equations and to solve the, we only need to fix two intensive properties, and that is temperature and pressure. So since it's already fixed, it means that the intensive state of the system is also fixed, meaning it's independent of the initial amounts of the reactants. Therefore, we don't need any material balance equations, and we can only use, or we can make use of um, phase equilibrium equations. That would give us the sufficient number of equations to solve the problem. The required from us is the compositions of the vapor and liquid phases. And we begin by um, establishing the phase equilibrium equations. Okay. The first thing that we can assume is the reaction or the reactions occur at the vapor phase. So if we write the reaction in vapor phase, it would be this one. Just add the G, meaning all of the species are in vapor phase. Then we make use of the equation. Okay, this is the equation that we established for the gas phase reaction. Let me go back to that slide here. Okay, so this is the base equation for gas phase reaction. So with that, we expand the equation for all the species. So the capital letter pi means product all over the species I. So expanding that, we get this equation. Okay. So Okay, one of the p not cancels out, leaving us one p not in the numerator. The next thing to do is to solve for the equilibrium constant K, and we can make use of these equations that we use for example 4, where ln K is negative delta G naught over RT. And we evaluate the equilibrium constant K at the temperature 200 degrees Celsius or 473.15 Kelvin. I skipped the solution for this one, so um, please do this on your own. And what you will get is this ln k equal to negative 3.4, where exponentiating, it would give you a k equal to 0.0310. So that is our k. So the next thing to do after we establish the equilibrium equation, so right here, we make use of the phase equilibria criterion. All right. So for the phase equilibria criterion, um, we should the fugacities in the vapor and liquid phases should be equal, and to ensure that the state is in equilibrium. So that means for ethanol and water, which have both liquid and vapor phases, the fugacities at their vapor phase should be equal with their fugacities at their liquid phase. And that is true for ethanol and water. So for ethylene, it's just the vapor phase. So we can rewrite equation A right here to this one first. So all are in the vapor phase, since we assume that the reactions happen in the vapor phase. But then the equilibrium criterion would enable us to write it such that ethanol and water fugacities are also equal with their between their vapor and liquid phases. So notice that we have liquid for fugacity of the liquid in ethanol in the numerator, as well as fugacity of the liquid of water in the denominator. And for ethylene, it's the fugacity of the vapor. So this is now our um, next equation, equilibrium equation. However, remember that we can for the fugacity of the vapor phase, we can write it in terms of the fugacity coefficient, pressure, and the mole fraction. So the fugacity of the vapor is equal to this equation. Okay. Remember that Fi hat means it's in a solution. So that is for the vapor, and for the liquid, it can be expressed as the in terms of the mole fraction, activity coefficient, and the fugacity of pure species of the liquid. Okay, so this is for the liquid. So with that, we can substitute C and D into our equation B, and that would give us this one. So for the liquid part, for ethanol in the numerator, we substituted the mole fraction, activity coefficient, and the fugacity of the pure species ethanol. So there's no hat anymore, it's pure species. And then we just multiply it by P naught because it's in the equation. Okay, and then for the denominator, so we have the vapor ethylene. So we use the vapor equation for the fugacity, and that is the mole fraction in vapor phase times the fugacity coefficient times the pressure. And then we have another term right here, fugacity of the liquid water, and we use the equation D. So that is the mole fraction of water times the activity coefficient times the uh, fugacity of the pure species water. Okay, so there's no more hat here. So here just a reminder that without the hat, it's a pure, we're referring to the pure liquid, not the solution. But for liquid phase, okay, fugacity of the liquid is not that affected by the pressure. Okay, so because of that, if you will remember in our solution thermo, for liquids, we can assume that it's equal to the saturation fugacity coefficient times the P saturation, because it's not affected much by the changes in pressure. So if you remember, you have a homework on this wherein you graphed the fugacity coefficient, and once you reach the liquid phase, um, there's not much change, or there's no change for the fugacity. All right, so I'm showing this one. This is what I was referring to your homework. So upon reaching the saturation pressure, notice that for the fugacity there's little change. Okay, so only for the fugacity. So for the fugacity coefficient, there's still a bit much of a change, but for the fugacity, um, so after a drastic uh, slope right here, the slope suddenly flattens out. All right, so this is what I was referring to. Let's go back to the problem. All right, so therefore, we can assume this and replace this terms right here for the fugacity of the liquid in the equation. So we have two for ethanol and water. Replace it with this um, equation. So another assumption that we can make is we can assume that the ethylene is assume that it's an ideal solution, so that for the fugacity coefficient in solution, so F fugacity phi hat is equal to the pure species fugacity. With those assumptions, okay, so we replace the fugacity of the pure liquid. So this term right here with the saturation fugacity coefficient times the saturation pressure, okay? And then we do that for ethanol and also water. And also for ethylene, we remove the Fi hat so that the fugacity coefficient is a pure species. All right. So the next thing that we need to do is uh, we try to relate now. Okay, this equation. So we need to have another equation, but this time in terms of the mole fractions. So if the summation of all the mole fraction of the species in the vapor phase is 1, so we can isolate the mole fraction of ethylene on one side, and the rest is 1 minus the mole fractions of ethanol and water. So let's call that equation H. Okay, so the previous equation, let's call that equation G. Now the next step is we go back to equation C and D and F. So what are those? Let's go back. C and D. So these are the two ones, C and D. And we have equation, where's equation F? This one. Okay, so this is equation F. We simply just combine equation C, D, and F, and that would give us, okay, equation I. All right. Hold on. So when we combine um C, D, and F, so that means uh we we replace the fugacity coefficient here, so with FIL, but FIL is equal to this one, okay? So mainly we want to retain the mole fraction YI. So again, we substitute the fugacity coefficient right here and substitute the liquid phase fugacity. So you will get after manipulating those equations is would be equation I. Okay? So the next thing to do is substitute equation I to equation H. Okay? So substitute um so this is for ethanol, and also we have for water. Okay, so ethanol and water. So now we have an equation for uh the mole fraction of ethylene expressed, okay, in terms of the mole fractions of ethanol and water, their activity coefficients, their saturation, um, fugacity coefficients, their pressure at saturation, and also their fugacity coefficient of pure species. Okay, so what about the um, mole fraction of ethylene in the liquid phase? So for simplification, since ethylene is more volatile than water, okay, we assume that it has insignificant mole fraction or insignificant content in the liquid phase. Therefore, X C2H4 or the X ethylene is 0. So with that, our liquid phase only has two components, water and ethanol. And if we sum the mole fraction of the species is just equal to 1, we isolate the mole fraction of water in one side on one side of the equation. All right. So now that we have these equations, notice that for equations K, so that is for the mole fraction in water, equation J, okay, and equation G, let's go back, equation G, we only have the variables, okay, we only have the variables, the mole fraction of water in the liquid phase, mole fraction of ethanol in the liquid phase, and the mole fraction of ethylene in the vapor phase. The rest we can solve, the rest of the uh, terms we can solve, like the fugacity coefficient. You can use a correlation to solve that. And for the activity coefficient, it can be found using a reference. Okay. For the P saturation, we can use the Antoine equation. So please just calculate that, P saturation of water. So again, this would be that one. And then, as mentioned, we use a correlation to solve for the fugacity coefficient, a saturation, and the pure species fugacity coefficient. So, use the appendix to get the critical properties and the centering factor, calculate for the reduced properties, and then use the virial correlation to solve for fugacity of the pure species and also its fugacity at saturation. And now we have all the um so what retains or what remains in equations G, J, and K would only be the variables XH2O, XETOH or ethanol, and YC2H4 or ethylene. Okay, so we substitute the numerical values to G, J, and K. So we have these three equations where we what we got with the P saturation and also the fugacity coefficients, we substitute the numerical values into equations um, for the equilibrium equation K and also for uh, the mole fraction. So simply just substitute back the numerical values. But the problem is the activity coefficient is still unknown. Okay, so we still need to determine that. And in the book, they use a reference. This one. They use this one to get the activity coefficient. The problem is we search the entire internet for this reference. We cannot find it. So we're stuck with this step. Nevertheless, let's give you an overview on um, how to solve this. It's going to be an iteration. So the first step is assume a value for the mole fraction of ethanol in the liquid phase, so XETOH, and then we calculate X by using equation K, so this one. Next is we get the activity coefficients using the reference. So remember, we need the X values, ethanol and water, to solve for the activity coefficients, and we can use the reference. And next is we calculate the mole fraction of ethylene, okay, using equation M. And then we calculate K. Okay, we calculate the equilibrium constant using this one. So because we now know all Y, we now know the activity coefficient and X. And we compare it with the previously determined value for K. Okay, so which is here. So from this equation, remember we determined a K value. So compare it with that, and if it's equal or near, then the ethanol X is correct. So if not, repeat the iteration, assume another value for ethanol. So that's how um, this solution is going to be. But you need the data, or yeah, you need the data for the activity coefficients for ethanol and water. So right now, we will stop here because we don't have that. But after you solve for, after you get the X that would make the equilibrium constant match with the one we solved with the other equation, the next thing to do is just substitute that X to get all the rest of the um compositions, the mole fractions. So in the book, let me go back to, okay, so this is the procedure. Uh, this is the answer in the book. So notice that for ethylene, we assume that there is no liquid composition, and then we also have for the mole fraction in the vapor phase, and this should sum to 1. Uh, So this is the answer, but we don't have the reference to calculate the activity coefficient. So with that, we will stop there and proceed with the next example. For this example, it's under the topic phase rule and Doomb's theorem for reacting systems. So this is the phase rule for reacting systems. So we use the expanded formula for the phase rule with reacting systems. Um, so let's read the example. Determine the number of degrees of freedom F for each of the following systems. So for letter A, we have a system of two miscible non-reacting species that exist as an azeotrope in vapor-liquid equilibrium. And then for letter B, a system prepared by partially decomposing calcium carbonate into an evacuated space. And letter C, a system prepared by partially decomposing ammonium chloride into an evacuated space, and a system consisting of a gas, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, water, and methane in chemical equilibrium. Okay, so given the scenarios, we need to find the degrees of freedom. So what we need to do is identify the phases, number of species, number of reactions, and any constraints for letter S, special constraints, and then use the expanded formula for the degrees of freedom. For letter A, let's identify. So we have two non-reacting, miscible but non-reacting species that exist as an azeotrope in vapor-liquid equilibrium. So the number of species is 2, and the number of phases is 2 because we have vapor-liquid equilibrium. R is equal to 0 because it's non-reacting, and we have no, we have, uh, for example, let's assume that there's no azeotrope first. Okay, so let's assume there's no azeotrope. Then this is simply our equation. We substitute 2 minus pi plus n minus r, so we substitute that equal to 2. But because we have a special constraint, which is the azeotrope, and that would mean in the azeotrope, if you will remember, that would mean the composition of x equal to y, so meaning the mole fraction in the vapor phase and the mole fraction in the liquid phase are equal. So we have that constraint, and therefore S equal to 1. So substituting that into equation, so 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. So this is the degrees of freedom. And what does it mean? Um, it means that just fixing one property, like the temperature, would already fix our composition or the intensive and all the other intensive state of the system. Okay. So the next problem is this one. Decomposing calcium carbonate into an evacuated space. Okay, so to begin the solution, we write the decomposition reaction. So from a solid calcium carbonate, you, if you know calcium carbonate, not sure if you have seen it, so whitish powder, and it decomposes into an evacuated space to uh, this one, a solid and a gas, calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So we count the number of species. We have 3. Number of phases. Number of phases, you would think that it might be 2 because we have solid and gas, but actually these two are counted separately. So we have a solid phase calcium carbonate and a solid phase calcium oxide. So the number of phases is 3. And we only have one reaction. How about the special constraint? Um, there's no special constraint. So S is equal to 0. Substituting into our equation, uh, we would have a degrees of freedom equal to 1. So just like before, we only need to fix, there's no, we only specify one phase rule variable, the temperature, pressure, or composition. We can only specify one phase rule variable. Okay, and it fixes everything in the system. For the next problem, it's the decomposition of ammonium chloride in that is solid into gaseous ammonia and gaseous hydrogen chloride. Okay, so HCl that is in gaseous phase is hydrogen chloride. So we count the number of species. We have 2. We have the solid and the gaseous phases. I'm sorry, the number of phases. The number of phases is 2. We have the solid and gaseous phases. And the number of species is 3. So we have 3, 1, 2, 3. And the number of reactions is 1. But this time around, unlike the um, previous problem, we have a special constraint. And why is that? For this one, the decomposition of ammonium chloride into gaseous ammonia and hydrogen chloride means that the gas phase is equimolar ammonia and hydrogen chloride. So therefore, there's a special equation that is this one. They should be equal. And we have a special constraint and one special constraint. And we input that into our formula for the degrees of freedom, that we have a degrees of freedom equal to 1. Finally, for this last problem, we have a system consisting of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gases in chemical equilibrium. So we have this number of species 5, and we only have one phase in gaseous phase. The question is, how many reactions do we have? And we do this by beginning with the formation reactions. So formation reaction for the 5 the four gases, okay, except for oxygen because so we don't I mean except for hydrogen because it's an element, so we only write the formation reaction for the compounds. So these are the formation reaction. We have four. All right. So what's the next step to do? In this formation reaction, notice that we have carbon and oxygen, carbon and oxygen, carbon and oxygen. But we do not have carbon and oxygen in our system based on the given. So um, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, water, and methane. Okay, so we try to eliminate carbon and oxygen by combining the equations. The first is we try to combine B and A. So with that, we're able to eliminate, okay, carbon from the equation. So you reverse the letter A and then you add it with that equation reaction B. So we're able to eliminate C from the equation, and then we combine B and D. Okay. So you reverse equation D, and what you will get is an elimination of C, carbon. Okay. Next is we combine C and E to eliminate um, oxygen. So we combine reaction C and E to eliminate oxygen. So we're able to eliminate the oxygen from the reaction, and then we combine equation C and F. So with these two final equations, we have all the species, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, carbon monoxide, water, and also methane. So these five species uh, cons- composes our given system. So therefore, we're able to reduce the number of the reactions into two, and there's no special constraints. So we substitute uh, those variables into our formula for the degrees of freedom, and what we get is number 4 of 4 degrees of freedom. So meaning we are free to specify four phase rule variables. For example, temperature, pressure, and two mole fractions. Um, in our system. Alright, so this ends our um, example problem number 11. With this, I will stop the video and we'll just continue with the next problem in the next video.